The Woolton Hayes video gained a lot of comments, and not just because of the subject, which was Woolton Hayes, but also the Victorian building on Speke Road, which I, at the end of the video, asked if anybody knew what it was. But there was also some comments about the trams as well, so I thought it was well worth revisiting the video just to put some things right, because there were quite a few things wrong in that video, and I think it's worthwhile just looking back and revisiting some of the points. Woolton Manor up for sale, purple bricks. Right, so I'm going to take a walk down to the junction of High Street, King's Drive, Speke Road and Woolton Street to have a look at the site of the Marie Curie Centre. Take the scenic route, I think, through the park. Yeah, so this just really cuts the corner off. We're going to end up in Woolton Street, near the gate of St Julie's, and take a look at the Marie Curie site as it is today, and go back over the history of the building that used to be there. Up until more recently than I would have said, but anyway, we'll explain when we get there. Now, just to remind you, it's this building on the left hand side here, which I was asking, did anybody know what it was? And there were quite a few replies. Many people said the same thing, that it was called Sunnybank, and at one time it had been a police orphanage. Now, as soon as the first person wrote it used to be called Sunnybank, I remembered it. I would have passed this building numerous times in my lifetime. It's amazing how you forget things. You know, they disappear, and they're just removed from memory somehow. Weird. Anyway, along with the comments, there was an email sent to me by Hal Earp, and he gave me a link to a website, and I'll put the website at the end of the video in case you want to visit yourself, but I'm going to read some of the pertinent points from the website regarding the building in question. So a guy called Joseph Pendleton, who was a watchmaker and chronometer, lived and worked at the cottage known as Sunnybank, and at that time it was on Chapel Street, and the name was changed to Speke Road at some point. In 1896, the Liverpool and Bootle Police Orphanage bought Sunnybank from Joseph Pendleton's daughter. It opened as an orphanage that same year, 1896, and I'm not quite sure what a police orphanage is, but I'm going to guess that it's for children whose parents have died while in service of the police. In 1957, Liverpool and District Police Orphanage building was vacated and the property was once again put up for sale. Liverpool City Council and the Marie Curie Memorial Foundation showed interest, and the property was divided between the two. The council took the south plot and built a school. Marie Curie Memorial Foundation took the smaller north plot, including the building, and converted the home to accommodate 54 patients, which was later reduced to 30, and this was to provide convalescence or long-term nursing care. The hospice retained Sunnybank as part of its title and became Sunnybank Marie Curie Home, and it opened in 1959. The building eventually became unsuitable for the ever-growing needs of the hospice, and a fundraising campaign was started with the idea of building a new centre. The foundations of the new building were commenced in 1986, which were laid in the grounds of the rear of the existing building. From 1987 onwards, it was agreed that the name Sunnybank was to be phased out, and from 1992 the hospice officially became known as the Marie Curie Centre, Liverpool. Henry E. Cotton, Justice of the Peace, Lord Lieutenant of Merseyside, laid the foundation stone of the new Marie Curie Centre on the 14th of June 1991. Patients were transferred from the old building to the new one in October 1992, and the old building was demolished. The sandstone, which had been part of the old building, was used in parts of the outer perimeter wall, with the roof slates being reused in the gardens and the grounds. The remaining rubble was removed. The new building was formally opened by Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Kent in 1994, and it made it the 11th hospice in the UK established by the Marie Curie Cancer Care Charity. So the old building in the photograph was in location there until just 30 years ago. And this is the new Marie Curie Centre, and we've just walked through what would have been the walls of the old Sunnybank. So this and other walls were once part of the Sunnybank building, and it's certainly had a life. There's been a few things in its time: a home, an orphanage, council buildings, and a hospice. We're now on King's Drive. You probably saw the road sign on the right hand side there, and this is the Little Angels Nursery, and this is the car park. Now, in the last video when we went looking for Woolton Hayes Manor House, I suggested that the manor house probably sat just in front of us where these trees are, just past the car park, and I suggested it was to the right where there were some old sandstone walls. But it turns out I was on the wrong side of the road, I think. So we're going to take a short walk to where it's suggested it may have been. Bill Gibbons wrote, "Woolton Hayes was mainly to the left of King's Drive. There wasn't much sign of it when I was there, just lumps and bumps in the ground and some rhododendron bushes. I remember that there was a low wall running across the fields towards Out Lane. It was a type of wall that was used to level the lawns and gardens in front of big houses where the land falls away. It was just about where the 1930s houses start, on the left going down the drive." Bill added, "Just one small point which may be of interest. My great-grandfather was a groom at Woolton Hayes, and in the 1861 census it has him lodging in the gatehouse with the coachman and his family. So if the coachman and the groom were living there, it stands to reason that the coach house and the stables were there as well. So maybe, just maybe, that's how the Coach and Horses got its name." Now I'm just wondering whether this piece of land here, with its sandstone wall, is where Woolton Hayes Manor House stood. Now we're just looking down King's Drive here, and later on in the video we're going to take a walk and take a look at the bottom end where it meets Out Lane. The reason being, it's not just me who's wondered why it's part dual carriageway, part single track. I'm going to turn round here and walk back to the junction with Woolton Street and Speke Road, and just to give you a better view of the sandstone wall that is on this side of the road, and some pretty new build houses behind. Now there is a Woolton Hayes dairy which sits on Out Lane, probably shows up, or the wall that it lies behind shows up in my Out Lane video. It's pretty much opposite the entrance to the school. So perhaps not so long ago this area was known locally as Woolton Hayes. So I've just turned the corner of that wall. We're looking back down King's Drive now, and that's the sandstone wall. Was that part of Woolton Hayes Manor House? You know, I feel a bit of an idiot because I forgot all about Sunnybank, which I would have walked past many times, and it's been lost from my memory. Or it had been until it got jogged. But it seems that this Woolton Hayes Manor House has been lost to many people's memories, and it would have been here, I guess, up until 1930. King's Drive was built during the 1930s, I think, maybe, possibly the late 20s. But in reality, in terms of history, it's not that long ago. And this sandstone wall carries on almost to the top of King's Drive. We're now in what would have been, I think, the yard of the dairy. Now we're almost at the top of King's Drive. The dairy on the right hand side there with its white wall is now the Liverpool Cheese Company. But just make a note that this is a dual carriageway at the top of King's Drive, and just look across to where the Little Angel's nursery is in a second, and that's the dual carriageway. So we're just going to cross Woolton Street, and we're now on High Street, and we're going to take a look at the site of one of the photographs that I used in the last video, and that photograph featured a tram. Now trams have long disappeared from Liverpool's roads. 1957, the last trams were finally replaced by diesel buses, and as I was born in 1957, I don't remember any trams on our roads, but a lot of cities have brought them back into use, and there has been talk over the time of bringing them back in Liverpool as well. Anyway, a little bit of time travel required when walking down High Street in this video, just to cut down the length of time. So we're now at the end of, or coming up to the end of High Street, which is a dual carriageway, and these lovely cottages on the right hand side here. Now in the last video about Woolton Hayes, I put a photograph of a tram, and it's believed that this photograph, this one here, was taken at the bottom of High Street, where High Street joins Menlove Avenue, and I can see that it's quite probable. There's a tourist bus at the bottom. Not a great day for sitting on the top deck today. But while I was down here at this end of Woolton Village, I thought I'd take a look at the new building which is taking place where the garage used to be at the end of Vale Road. Now I did find an artist's impression of what this new build is going to look like when it's completed, and I've saved it somewhere, and I'm not quite sure where, but if I can find it I will put it up at the end of this video. If not, it'll appear in another one. So there's not much happening really, but the garage building itself has been demolished by the look of it, so work's moving on. I said earlier in the video we would have a look at King's Drive, and me and probably other people, at least one who made a comment on the video, have wondered why King's Drive isn't a dual carriageway for its full length, or isn't a single track for its full length, because it varies between the two. I'm just wondered really what the reason for that would be. So I'm currently on Huntscross Avenue, and this is its junction with Out Lane to the right and King's Drive to the left. Now I know that King's Drive was part of a plan to put a ring road around the outskirts of Liverpool, and King's Drive was going to marry up with another road in Lee Park which was actually built, but the two were never connected, and then the plan was basically shelved and it never happened. But according to Donald Trumpton, they were going to put a roundabout here at the bottom of King's Drive and Huntscross Avenue, and that never happened either. Now that might explain its unusual layout, because it is a bit of a strange road. King's Drive always has been, as far as I can remember, so it's before my lifetime. So just going to have a walk down Huntscross Avenue to the other end, and this part of Huntscross Avenue is featured a few times in videos. The houses on the left feature in a video on their own, and apparently they were started to be built in 1929. So all good information, and thank you very much for everybody who made comments on this video, because I think I learnt things, and if you have an interest in this area then hopefully you have too. Right, so according to Donald Trumpton, the idea of Huntscross Avenue was to link this end with Huntscross. Now I've always wondered why it's called Huntscross Avenue, because it doesn't go to Huntscross, but there again, in the city centre, London Road doesn't go to London, and Scotland Road falls a little way short of reaching Scotland, so it's not unusual. Right, a little bit of time travel to get to the other end of Huntscross Avenue. Now, at the end of Huntscross Avenue, it comes to an abrupt end where it meets the edge of Woolton Golf Course, and Woolton Golf Course, or Woolton Golf Club, is a private members club, and the piece of ground where it ends, which is now part of the golf course, was acquired by a guy called Lewis Cohen, and Lewis Cohen was a director at the time of Lewis's department store in Liverpool city centre, and he took Saturday's takings and bought this piece of land. So to believe that this road, Huntscross Avenue, was going to run all the way to Huntscross and join up with probably Speke Road, you would have to believe that Liverpool Council thought that they owned the land at the end of this road. I mean, you would have to be really stupid to plan a road to a place through private land. Yeah, I think they probably did. I think Liverpool Council are probably stupid enough to do that. Anyway, this is where Hunts Cross Avenue ends. I've actually shown it before because I've done a complete video on Hunts Cross Avenue, and this is the side of Woolton Golf Club, and I think they decided that probably best leave it here because we don't own that land. Now, I did manage to find the photographs I mentioned earlier. This is a photograph taken from Menlove Avenue looking at Vale Road, and this is the site which is currently being developed, and this is the garage which is being demolished. So this photograph shows the garage when it was called Woolton Motors. It's been called at least one other thing since, or during its lifetime. And I also know that there's at least two people who watch this channel who used to work there. So this is its Woolton Motors days. I don't think it looked much different when it was had a different title. Anyway, let's have a look at what's coming up. This is an artist's impression of what the building will look like when it's completed. It's roughly the same view as the previous photograph, and I'll leave it with you. See what you think. So, thank you very much for watching, and as always, we'll catch up soon.